Hi, I'm Samantha Varga, and this is my presentation for the ePortfolio Part 4, where I did research for work overload and burnout. The purpose of this presentation is to inform you on the symptoms and 6 sources of burnout, more specifically the in-depth reasons on why someone might experience it, followed by the observations and recommendations I found in the study that I did, and then finally realistic advice that I want to give to you to either prevent or overcome burnout. So getting right into it, the symptoms of burnout, according to Wilding, are minor symptoms include having a negative attitude about work, loss of motivation and optimism, procrastinating, and being short-tempered. And more severe symptoms that can definitely affect one's health are getting sick often, headaches, muscle aches, neglecting one's own needs, and difficulty sticking to regular self-care. In preparation for this presentation, I found more specific symptoms that might give you a general idea if you're experiencing burnout or not. So setting your alarm too early that you hit the snooze button all the time is something I definitely do. I set my alarm at 6:15, I get up at 7:25, and the whole time from start to finish, I'm hitting my snooze button. Yes, I'm definitely experiencing burnout, but the advice I'm going to give to you at the end, I've taken myself, and I can say it has worked, and I'm getting through burnout slowly but surely. So being depleted after work, inconsistent sleep patterns, feeling liberated after a Friday at work, explaining your job with fine, meaning if someone were to ask how's work going, fine, how's everything here, fine, consistently being asked about your feelings, not spending time with coworkers, and finally living like a vampire, so you're going to work before the sun comes up and you're leaving when the sun is already down. Being forced to work at these hours can definitely cause someone to not only be depressed and stressed, but burn out. 6 sources of burnout are lack of control, values conflict, insufficient reward, work overload, unfairness, and breakdown of community. So with these sources, they're very broad, very general, but they're kind of situational. What I found was in-depth reasons for burnout, such as low supervisor support. So with this, I found if there was low supervisor support paired with high job demands, people of all professions were experiencing work burnout and overload. If there was high supervisor support met with high job demands, they didn't experience burnout. They were experiencing more energy, they were more competent and more confident in their work compared to the other one of low supervisor and high job demands. They were experiencing depression, fatigue, and disengagement in their work. Finally, one major thing that I found with supervisor support was if there is high supervisor support paired with low job demands, it actually could mean that there is distrust within the workforce and that surveillance needs to happen. So poor work-life balance and personal and professional commitments kind of go hand in hand right here. What I found was someone just needs to have good work-life balance, meaning taking care of yourself, making sure that you're getting enough sleep and rest. If you have a personal commitment and say it plays a negative part on your life, making sure that those are dealt with and taken care of in the best and healthiest way possible. If not, these can lead to work burnout. Characteristics of the job, specifically the medical field, what I found was paramedics found they were experiencing burnout because the actual characteristics of the job, such as long hours, the responsibility put onto them, the paperwork, and most importantly, the salary. They do not get paid enough for what they do for everybody. And that a big thing of this research of paramedics and the characteristics were that the longevity of the job was needed to be reevaluated because people who start out when they're 20 aren't going to be doing this job when they're 50 because the burnout can advance so quickly due to the responsibilities put onto them. Lastly is personal traits. This was a study done on firefighters. So what I found was that empathy, extroversion, and style. Agreeableness were reasons that people don't experience burnout because they have high levels of these personal traits. If they have low personal traits, meaning they're expressing less agreeableness, less empathy, and less extroversion, then they would experience burnout more often than others. So the observations and recommendations I found was that research needs to be conducted to provide realistic ways to prevent and overcome burnout. Not only that, but research should be shown to show how the advice plays out in the long run. What I found was just that it was kind of, this is what you can do. You need high supervisor support if there are high job demands, and this will help them feel energized and more confident in their work. However, there was really no research that I found that showed what happened if they continually had supervisor support, because what I feel would happen in the long run, which I would really like to see research on, is if there is high supervisor support with high job demands, what if the relationship gets a little too comfortable where now the employee might be slacking off a bit, or maybe the supervisor is slacking off a bit, and it becomes too personal of a work relationship. Examinations for this literature review did not provide long-term results regarding advice such as supervisor support and personal traits, so like I mentioned before, most importantly, the biggest thing I found was that the advice given wasn't realistic in the slightest. There were things such as making a list of the things that you are doing at work compared to what your job responsibilities were when you first started, and then you're supposed to take it to your manager to find compensation for the extra job responsibilities that you're doing. Other things were becoming more selfish, but a lot of people can't do that. They can't just say, no, I'm not going to do that, because they might have just started in this position, or they're low entry level, they're not managers. So I feel that the advice I found for this literature review was definitely situational and kind of for people in a manager position. So, with that being said, I present to you some realistic advice that you can take for yourself. So, one of the biggest things, and this is from Harvard Business Review, is taking breaks during the workday. Now, what I have done, this is something I do. I'm allowed a 15-minute break during my work schedule. So I just go, I take my phone, and I sit in a nice quiet room. Sometimes the room I'm in, we're allowed to have the lights off if nobody else minds in there. And I just kind of reset, and I find something that helps me feel good about myself. But then also, the next advice is put your digital devices away. So with this, someone might feel burnout if they are constantly on their smartphone. I feel this way if I'm always on social media. I get overwhelmed with everything. And sometimes it's just good to just get rid of your phone for a little bit, reset yourself, go outside for a walk if you can. This is obviously me saying if you're at home. If you're at work and you can use a little bit of break time, don't bring your phone at all. Just reset your mind and take a couple deep breaths. Do something interesting. So I really like this advice because this is something that you can do on your off time. Not necessarily while you're at work, because clearly you need to be doing what's asked of you, but doing something interesting. So if there's a little tiny project that you wanted to do that. Something I love to do is bake, and I've really been loving just looking up different recipes or taking a recipe and kind of filtering it a little bit here and there, and it's just really helped me feel that when I come home from work, I have a sense of purpose, a fun purpose to do. Take long weekends. So if you have the luxury of having paid time off, this is something you definitely need to take advantage of. It's okay to even just take half a day on Friday, leave early on Friday, and then go till Sunday and come back. And it's just something very simple to do. You don't have to spend money even to do this. And then focus on meaning and make sure it's really burnout. These are just kind of little things here and there that I found. They're not necessarily big advice things that you can take. So with this article, I really liked because they have the principles to remember, which are set boundaries, incorporate regular breaks into your workday, and focus on why the work matters to you. That sentence right there when I read it was so important to me because you don't want to sit at work and think, why am I doing this? Why does it matter to me? To really understand and remember why you're there will really help with burnout. And then there are some case studies, so feel free to use this link right here if you want to read more into this. But other than that, thank you so much for watching my PowerPoint, and I hope that you learned how important it is to realize and understand the symptoms of burnout, and that you can take this advice with you and use it, share it with your friends, but most importantly, just take a deep breath, understand everything is going to be okay, and thank you so much for watching.